This record was very much about three people who wanted to be in a creative collaboration together. We picked up Mike Sharp for a tour with Deaf Evan and Drab Majesty, and we wound up just really hitting it off.
Day before we left for a 5-week tour together, and I was pretty nervous, but we had talked on texts and emails. They had sent me files, and we'd talked through the set list a couple times and just tour logistics. But overall, I flew into LA like 6 hours before they did and stayed at a friend's house, and they came and picked me up, and we had our only practice together the next day, and then we went on a 5-week tour together.
We had been touring with a couple different drummers, and we were hoping to find someone more permanent and someone that we could write with and someone who could provide like a contrast to our creative dynamic.
Mike Sharp has a musical vocabulary that is very complementary to both mine and Ben's.
He brought in so many ideas that neither of us would have thought of at all.
This is the first time we really wrote songs like a band together.
Writing music with a band whose members live in another city was probably a lot harder 10 or 20 years ago, but now we can text and email each other every little idea we have.
We started really sending a lot of things back and forth, and then we went down to Austin near the end of 2019, and that's when the record started to feel like, okay, this isn't just a collection of ideas, this isn't just a bunch of riffs, this is actually like progressing towards being a finished thing.
Right off of the bat, we were able to, do some math and put some pieces together with the things that we had worked on before. Kind of once we had that, we had an overall idea of like what we wanted the tone of the record to be. And with that, we were able to start writing songs like kind of organically on the spot.
When we got back from Austin, we had maybe 2 months or 3 months to send things back and forth. We'll work themes, and especially on this record, because Berdan was consciously writing down lyrics for the first time for this record.
I wanted there to be a narrative arc. I've benefited from a tremendous amount of privilege, and this record is about, in so many ways, kind of trying to unlearn that.
Having the producer in the band is good in Ben's case because he's very involved. He wants to make sure you know what you're doing and why you're doing it in each song. You're not just playing through the part.
I try to leave a lot of space. Maybe I leave less space as a member of Uniform, but it's still really important for the sum to be greater than its parts. And you never get there unless you leave room for things to develop collectively. We're at Circular Ruin Studio. This is where the record was mixed. Before we really started sharing music for this record, I knew that I wanted to step away from the mix on this one. I wanted to open up the process so that after I had gotten together, all right, yeah, this is what I've been hearing, this is what I've been hearing in my head, this is my conception of what this record is. But that doesn't have to be the end of it.
Have another set of ears that are as trained and as practiced as Randall's is invaluable. Someone like him has not just the taste, but has the actual ability to make this come to life.
Well, Ben and I worked on this record Algiers together. That was the first time that we started developing a language as engineer-producer team and going back and forth. Being a bit aggressive with the sounds, and it gave me a chance to really go back to the sounds that excited me when I was younger, and a lot of more extreme things that I knew how to do really well. I knew with Ben that the sounds were already going to be really good, so that I didn't have to think about repairing anything. It was just going to strictly be creative. And then just talking a lot with him and Berdan about vocal effects and being really disrespectful with delays.
there are things that happen in this record with vocal processing that I love, and I'm always a sucker for vocal processing, but I wouldn't have necessarily trying things the way that he did, let alone actually being able to execute them. I think having Randall on board was invaluable to the sculpting and kind of like realizing the vision of this record. So as far as how Heather fits into the overall aesthetic of this record, as the years have gone on, they've developed into this unique force. In particular with the last Hyde record, looking at their stuff can be a fairly, harrowing experience. And they seemed like a natural choice. We all have artists that we like. They're all very different. Heather is kind of where we meet. And as a band, I want to convey an emotion, and I want for that emotion to be startling.
Our goal as a band has been to provide a reflection for our listeners so that when they listen to us, they can see themselves, or they can see what they see in the world around them. The most direct way I've found to get to that is to allow ourselves to be open and honest and available, like truly available